we're back today. We just had our planter training day yesterday up at the Western Fair, and I'm just up here now getting ready to move this unit over before the farm show next week, and thought it actually would be a really good opportunity to do a walk around on it. So this is our Momentum 24 row dry unit that we'll be doing demos this spring with. So we'll start up at the front here. This is a 2-point hitch model with a high lift addition into it with this cylinder for getting up and over top of railroad tracks and stuff like that. You can get this in a pintle hitch with just the high lift, or you can get it in just a 2-point with the standard lift. And then the other thing that they do is when you go to an even numbered planter, a 48-15, they actually put a swing hitch in here to be able to offset the planter so that your corn rows are on center rather than being staggered off your tires. So this unit, all the Momentums are very simple. They are run by Power Beyond. So you've got 3 hoses, you're in and you're out, and then your load sense. And then because this unit is dry, we have a hose set here to be able to do the high lift. And then we've got one to run the alternator and hydraulic downforce for precision. And then we've got one to run the blower on the dry system. And then every planter usually comes with a air system as well. That's for the air inflation system on the unit. I'll talk about that in a little bit. We have a Fendt on it right now, so it hooks right up to the machine. If you ever want to put this on a different kind of tractor, whether it is a John Deere or a Case or some other color, and it doesn't have air on it, we can put an onboard air compressor on the back of it. So the tongue slides, so everything will move backwards when it's folded in to be able to go down the road. When it's up in this position, basically a 60-foot planter is 60 feet from the back of the planting units to the front of the weight of the tractor. So it makes it really easy for squaring up corners and stuff like that. Because of the way the toolbar is designed, it's not recommended to do 90-degree turns. Now the dry unit, this will be the first time I've had the dry. You can also put a 1,000-gallon liquid tank on this machine for anybody that's wanting to do liquid. And then there's also a 500-gallon, actually it's 250-gallon tanks that can be put on saddle tanks, so you can actually do 2 liquids, or you could do 1 dry and 2 liquids to be able to stretch the dry fertilizer out so you're not filling as often. But the way this is set up is this is actually 2 meters. So there's one here and there's one here, and they come down into these manifolds and then they're distributed out through the lines. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that we've used very small hose. And the idea with that is we've actually got 2 hoses going to each fertilizer opener. And the concept is, you can see there, the smaller the hose, the faster the velocity of air goes through it, which is going to allow you to be able to put down higher rates easier without having troubles getting enough air volume to be able to move it. So one of the examples yesterday was this 24-row planter, 150 pounds to the acre. We were around 8 miles an hour is where we topped out on the dry fertilizer application of it. Now, that's one of the reasons that some people won't go with the dry system. They want to do high speed. If that's the case, the dry is probably not the best way to go because of the volume you're trying to put down, and the liquid system would be something that you would maybe want to look at. But so there's 3 meters here, each of them double rollers on both sides, and what that gives us is the high accuracy. Every test that they've done through Fendt, they're showing under 2% deviation between rows. The standard is 5% on most of these dry units. So this unit is below it, and the reasoning is because we're running 2 different meters, feeding 2 different manifolds, times 3 all the way down, and that's where we get our accuracy from. So carrying back through the machine, we've got 2 65 bushel tanks at the back here, top fill. I'll show you around the back. It's really easy to get a conveyor belt up as long as it's long enough to get up into the bins. We come down below here, and this is our center tandem axles. And the idea with the center tandem axles is they only run between one row. So on the main frame, there's no pinch rows compared to some of the other units on the market right now. On the outside tires, you'll see they run down the outside of the row. So as you're coming this way, you're going to plant down this pass. When you turn around, this tire is going to run down the exact same pass as what the tire did, and again, doesn't create any pinch rows. So that's the concept of what this machine is set up with. Then you take it one step further. Every tire, outside wing, the two small tires in the middle on the front, and the other outside wing all have spindles, smart spindles, which are weigh scales. And what they're doing is they're measuring how much weight is on the machine. They're measuring how much weight is on the machine and then modifying the air pressure of the tires to be able to make it so that we can run them as low as possible. But it's also got our hydraulic wing pressure, so we can take or pull away weight on those wings based on how much the smart spindle on the outside is reading, so that we've got even pressure across the whole toolbar, which gives us the best chance of having the best pressure and the best positioning for the back row units. And speaking of that, the way this is set up too, we have one common frame all the way across. Tires run on the ground, that's what supports that unit here. And then we have a contouring toolbar behind it, which is where our fertilizer openers are attached to, our row units are attached to. This bar hinges on its own up and down. And within the three sections, we've got 56 inches of row unit travel to be able to flex over our contours through our fields. In Ontario, would you ever get to that extreme? No. Some of the terraces and stuff like that, some of the central states and stuff have, definitely would be something that you'd be wanting to play with. But it's still one of the things that it's nice to have that kind of travel to be able to keep these row units in the ground. So our fertilizer comes out through our tubes. We've got blockage monitors that are hooked up directly to the 2020, so we can see if any of the hoses are blocked. And then outside, we've got dry fertilizer openers from Alari. There's 5 positions that you can set the depth on these to be able to put it where you want to. It is adjustable from the top here. So right now these are set by a 2x2 banding. You can move that so it's 3.5 or whatever you want to do there. But very good row unit. Customers love them. And I'm very happy that they've put them on this machine to be able to do the dry here. The other thing that it's hard to do with dry, but with the liquid, currently we've just got the Yetter Shark trash whippers on the front. They are floating right now, but we will have the clean sweep cylinders put into here before we go out to do demos this year. If you don't have the dry system on the front and you're running just liquid, there is actually a floating row cleaning system that is very impressive that I would consider looking at for a lot of people. It keeps it off of the actual row unit, so you don't get the chattering and that transfer of vibrations from the row cleaner to the row unit. And it seems to do as good or better of a job sitting out in front. Our row unit is a Fendt AGCO Massey row unit. Basically everything from here back is the exact same as any other Massey or planter that's been on the market for the last little bit. This system forward is dedicated just to the Momentum. Very heavy parallel arms with special bushings inside of them to be able to keep the wear down. This is our Delta force for our down pressure. We're running precision planting ESET meters and our mini Lego hoppers that this is the single product bin set up the way it is right now. but you can get the dual product where you put the flapper inside. Each hopper would then feed one side, and that would be what you could have 2 different varieties in your planter to be able to plant with. This is just a flapper so that when we fold up, none of the seed from the bin can flow back in the tubes and be able to plug it. So this unit, we've got a 4-inch gauge wheel on it. We're 15.5-inch openers. Standard would be a 3-inch that would come with this from factory. We want to go a little wider because we get into some sand ground that we're playing with. And then we went with just a regular rubber roller on the back. I think I would probably consider going to a spiked on one side with a rubber roller. Other options are furrow force that you can put on the back. It will fit on here as well. So that's something that some people really like. For demos, I find that this usually is our best option, and typically why I go that way. Depth is simply set by this T-handle. So that right there is going to be, that's a 3-inch depth. So we would want probably 1 1/4. So we'd be up 1 1/2, somewhere up in there. And then our down pressure on our closing system is just run off of this T-handle at the back. Coming around the back of the machine, this is our fold point. So our widest point of the machine is actually the tires running down the road. So you've got 4 rows behind, tires, and then the wings fold forward and up. I'll show that here in a minute once we go around the machine a little bit more. But it's very narrow going down the road. The widest part of this one actually is the 1038 with the big floater tires on the front of it. And that's the widest part going down the road. Our back railing, nice big wide open platform at the top, big steps down, easy to get up on top. We have a air compressor line at the back here because obviously we have air on board that we can use. So for blowing out fertilizer lines, cleaning something up, blowing it off between fields, whatever you need, there is an air system there. And then obviously here's the tank with the drain to be able to drain the system out. Up front here, just some electronic stuff. This is our alternator that is going to power our electrical system running on the back of the machine. It's also going to feed the hydraulic pressure that we need to be able to run the down force on the delta force to be able to give us our down pressure. On the back here as well, we've also got a water rinse station. Up on the front, I forgot, there's actually a toolbox that's built. We'll go up and see it. There's a toolbox that's built onto the unit, makes it easy to get into. When it's folded up, you can actually still get into this box, but it gives you lots of space and things for tools and everything you would need to be able to go in there. And then finally going up onto the back of the unit. So right here we have a movable gate that unclips and swings around. And as long as you have the long conveyor off of one of the seed tenders, you can reach up and be able to feed into both bins. Unfortunately, the short one that I've had a couple experiences with, it is extremely tight because of how long the ladder is, and we've actually had to swing the machine forward and low it off the sides. It's doable, but if someone's buying this planter and going to buy a new seed tender, I would recommend buying the longest tender conveyor that you possibly can get. Our hatch, it's got 3 clips. Hatch opens up. And the one thing that this also allows is if you're in the yard folded up, it's very easy to bring a tote with a forklift over the side and load. One tote easily fits in. 65 bushels, obviously, it's probably closer to a tote and a quarter or a tote and a half, depending on what your seed size is. But it's very easy to, for sure, to make sure you've got one tote on both sides, and you could go from there. This is our tank level sensor. It's shooting down inside the tank and will tell us on the display in the cab that I'll show you in a minute how much we have in the bottom. And then inside the tank you'll notice that our sump is in the middle and very even to be able to get seed to flow all the way evenly across that delivery system. So on the back dry system, we've got a cotter pin here and our roll tarp. And that lets us get into the bin. And in the bin, obviously, we just got this unit. We're just dealing with some shipping stuff, but they have a grate in the bottom of the bin that is to keep any oversized foreign objects out of the meters. So that hole size there, as long as it fits down through there, there's going to be no problems going through the meters. We've had customers say that they've had a mouse nest, pieces of paper out of the tender truck, rust, all sorts of different things that happens when we're working in the fields with dry fertilizer. And as long as those things are in there, you're protected. You shouldn't have any issues with the meters. And I would recommend obviously not taking them out, even if you needed to do something with that, put them right back in and away you go. But yeah, so that's what we got. Easy stairs to get up into the fertilizer hopper. And then there's this additional railing, arm that you can put up to be able to get up into the bin. It just locks in with a clip down here on the side. As I said, there's tons of room up on this catwalk. I'm 6'3", 230, and I have no problems getting around this catwalk to get up and down. It's not even tight to get up and down from there. So lots of room to be able to do things. So coming down, this ladder does fold up. Just a locking pin here. So that's transport position, so it makes it easy for getting it. So on our liquid system, one of the things that basically you can do anything. It's not limited to anything at all. So our liquid system ties right into our main hub here. We can run liquid in trench. We can run liquid through conceal on our gauge wheels to put 28 or some other high nitrogen unit down besides it. You can do T-trenches in the bottom of it. You can do all sorts of stuff. So these units don't come in plumbed for liquid, and it's because there's so many different ways you can do it. They let the dealer and the farmer decide how they want to put it in place. So what they would do is they would have a liquid tank in place here. Plumbing and pump would sit below it, and then the hoses would come out and they would feed to this T system right here and basically have a distributor sit in there, and that's it. And you would have to plumb the rest of it up yourself as to how you would want to do it. But we've got a 3115 that we just did for a customer for the spring. We ran 28 down one side of the seed trench with conceal, and then we're putting liquid pop-up in trench for our starter fertilizer. So we'll try and show that planner when it gets done. It's just over at the Precision guys getting a couple of things finalized for us, but that's something that's pretty cool, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works for the customer. Last thing I want to do while we're out here, this is the bottom of the manifold for our seed. So air's blown in through here, seed is delivered up, and what actually is happening is the far tank feeds across to this side. This tank comes through and feeds across to the other side. So we're actually crossing when we put seed in the tank. When it's time to clean out, we actually have a hose here that we can hook up. This slides open. We can feed it back into a tote or bags or whatever you want to do there. When it's time to do a full out clean out, if you have a different way of getting it done, this actually opens up for the door and drops straight down, and this canvas comes down and creates a chute at the bottom of it. It's easier to see this when it's actually folded up, so I may do that before we put it into the other side of the booth here to be able to show you a little bit of that, but very, very easy to clean our tanks out. Our main fan and vacuum are up on top. Everything is very, very simple and easy. All the hydraulic lines coming from the front are steel, and they're easy to get to in case anything ever happened. And same thing with our electronics. We're literally running one electronic cable up to our ISO, And then there's 3 little daisy plugs that come off of it, Deutsch plugs, that 2 of them are going into the 2020 and 1 of them goes into the extra switch box, which allows us to lift and lower and control the fans and everything like that separate from the actual ISO. So speaking of that ISO system, that's actually one of the nice things about this planter is it's Fendt. It goes perfectly behind a Fendt tractor. But you can also put these behind the other machines, like I said earlier. Because of the ISO, all the planter functions are going to be controlled from there on a deer screen, on a case screen. And then from the planting units, all we're using is the 2020 precision monitor to be able to control our seeding or fertilizers or whatever. So it makes it very convenient for this to be able to add it to something else. Some of the other planters don't like communicating with other tractors. This one, the way that they've set it up, no problems whatsoever. Well, let's hop up into the cab. I'm gonna move the chairs out of the way. I'm gonna move this table out of the way so we don't do anything to it. Hop up in here, fire it up, and then I can show you how this thing folds. So this is our 2020, very standard to what everybody else has for their monitors. Master switch box below, and then this is our switch box that actually is set up to be able to control the planter. On the Fendt, we have our ISO section here. So we go into ISO, and then we've got all of our planter functions for folding here. Manual raise and lower we can do from the screen. We can preset that to be able to run off of the joystick here on the actual Fendt terminal, on the Fendt 1 joystick, or we've got the ability to run up and down off of the toggle switch over here, as well as fold. This is the hydraulic to turn on and off to be able to turn our fans and everything on, and then our speeds are controlled with these dials that represent where we're sitting at back here on our screen. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go main power on. We're going to go to fold, and then we're going to fold this, hit this switch to be able to fold it forward. So I have the tractor in neutral. The idea is that if the tanks need to, they can stay in stationary, the side wings can pull forward, and the tractor can roll ahead if it needs to. I'm going to stop just for a second. I got to make sure that the hitch is all the way down, which it looks like it actually wasn't. We'll bring it all the way in. The back row unit's just lifted up. The bar is going to come in and settle. What I always do is I will pull up on this to make sure that it's locked in and can't move anywhere, just to make sure. And then I'll finish folding where the row units actually continue pulling up into their vertical position. There we go, we're folded. You're gonna lift your hitch up a little bit more slightly, and then what I usually do is I use the high lift to be able to lift it up to where I wanna go down the road, and we're good to go. So this is what the unit looks like when it's folded up. As I said before, I run the back hitch up as well as using the high lift a little bit just to keep the hitch down a little bit. I don't like having it all the way up, pinching the hoses and stuff. And then as you look down the side of the machine here, literally, as I said, the outside tires are the widest part of this machine going down the road. And if you compare it to what the outside of the tractor looks like, you've got one of your outside floater tires still sticking out past it. So if you're able to get the tractor down where you're going, you're able to get the planter down. Tandem axles, both of them have air inflation system as well as the outside two, keeping that level. And as I said here, just because it's easier to see, this is our emptying out, so our port, this clips open, and this plate will drop open. So now you can actually put a catch tote underneath of that to be able to finish cleaning everything out. So very easy to clean this unit out between varieties. If you're gonna do soybeans and corn with the same planter, very, very, very simple to be able to do it. One of the things with this is now that I've folded it up, we would want to look at our unit down here for our tire pressure. So right now it's in off. Normally auto is going to be done for in the field where it's changing itself all the time as it needs to. And then road, that's going to inflate itself back up to where it needs to be to go down the road at speed. I believe it's just over 40 PSI to be able to do that. So that's where it would do here. I like doing it manually here myself. Technically it does go from field to road automatically when you fold it up, but I always just make sure that this is sitting in road. Right now the red is here because I don't have the valves open on the actual tires, so it's actually not reading any pressures off of anything. So that's the only reason that's there. And then the last thing while we're in here, so this is how the toolbar is set up to use the air inflation based on weight. So right now it's off. Now what it's going to do is it's going to try and keep equal weight down on all four tires on the system. Now it's going to keep the weight centered. Now it's going to keep the weight centered. So if you were doing controlled traffic, you could keep all the weight on the middle and keep the weight off of the outsides. And then this, you can actually manually set how much weight you want on the outside wings from there, and then back to off. So normally we would run balanced, which is what this one's called. Our tank volumes here will read off of that sensor at the top of the bins. Same with the dry fertilizer. And then our fan speed and vacuum speeds are over here, and you can see the numbers based off of that when I would turn the dials on the switch box. So all pretty simple. The 2020 honestly is the hardest part of the whole thing, just knowing how to set things up and move things around, which is typically what we do at the dealership so that the customer doesn't have to. And then it's a bit of teaching from there as to how that works. So yeah, that's the Momentum planter. I hope you've enjoyed this video, seeing what we've got this year to be able to run our demos with. If you're in Southwestern Ontario and would like to see this unit, it's going to be out and about. Feel free to reach out to me or any of the other sales guys at Advantage, and we'd be happy to bring the unit out and show you how it works. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one.